What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to One Fair Review. I'm Grant, back with another episode of a review, and probably the most exciting one yet, at least to me, that is. So it's no real secret that I'm a fan of anime, but it is kind of a secret that I am a fan of Fate. I've never really had a chance to talk about it. The Fate series has never really caught up in a conversation, and we've never really done a video game on it because there's really not that much for us to cover. But yeah, today we're going to be looking at Fate Heaven's Feel, Part 1, Presage Flower. That's just a great name that rolls off the tongue, don't you think? Anyways, getting back to the actual movie itself, Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel is the first in a planned trilogy produced by Ufotable, which are the undertakers of the Fate series in general. It's being directed by Tomonori Sudo, and it's actually written by Akira Hiyama. Excuse me, I butcher some names sometimes. And of course, featuring music by the legendary Yuki Kaijura. All legends as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion. And the first film premiered in Japan on October 14, 2017, and later premiered in the United States between November and December of the same year. When it first was released, it was met with, of course, critical and audience praise across the board. But not only that, Presage Flower, in its opening weekend, reached #1 at the box office, the Japanese box office, that is, and it grossed $413 million from only 247 admissions within only 2 days of its Japanese release date. It also grossed over $14 million worldwide, including 1.5 billion yen, which is roughly $13.7 million, and that was in Japan alone. And then overseas got over $456,000. So in total, the movie made around $28,312,434 in its entire lifespan, which compared to most movies, it wasn't in theaters for that long, but that's quite an accomplishment, pretty damn impressive for especially an anime film to make that much money. Anyways, getting back to a little bit more information about the movie, the adaptation of Heaven's Feel, the Heaven's Feel route, based on the visual novel, which I'll get to in a minute, was actually first announced by Ufotable on July 27th of 2014. I should know because I was actually at the panel when they announced it. And funny enough, when I was actually there, when they were announcing it on the panel, the translator actually screwed up and said that there would only be one movie, when in reality what they actually said was that they wished they could do a 7-hour-long movie, but instead they would be doing 3 movies. So because of this really bad screw-up, everybody at the panel and the audience was just so disappointed. Nobody cheered. Nobody did anything. So I could only imagine that the people there were just like, I guess they don't care about the trilogy, which is a little bit weird. So I actually do remember that. It was kind of funny, but it was actually pretty annoying at the time because nobody there actually knew how many movies that they were going to do. We thought it was only going to be one movie, which would be 2 hours long, which would not be enough time to do an entire full adaptation. Another interesting thing they actually said at the panel about the movie is that they were open to doing sex scenes. Of course, Fate Stay Night being based on the visual novel, the adult visual novel on the PC, was a hentai game, and it had sex scenes. Each different story or each different route had your own romance and had its own, sex scene. However, because of the shows, they never really got to do that and never really tried to do that, except for a CGI dragon and dolphins. That's as far as they got. So they're actually opening to doing sex scenes in a movie, which is actually a little bit interesting. That hasn't happened yet, of course, but we are all very excited for when that day comes. Anyways, enough about a bunch of random facts about the movie. Let's just get to the actual movie itself. To summarize the story of Heaven's Feel would be really odd. I guess the best way to start off is if you're a Fate fan, you should know that Fate Stay Night is based on a visual novel. The visual novel had 3 routes, the first route being named Fate, second route being named Unlimited Blade Works, and then the third and final route being called Heaven's Feel. Like I mentioned earlier, each route is based on a little bit of a romance. Each one has their own romance. The first one being Saber, aka King Artura. Second one being Tosaka Rin. And then the third one being Mato Sakura. Those are the three romances. But it's not only about the romance. Of course, each story is actually very, very, very different from the last. None of them are the same, and none of them really feel the same. And if you watch Unlimited Blade Works and then watch this movie, you would know that, yeah, it's definitely not the same thing. However, this movie, Heaven's Feel, is obviously based on Heaven's Feel, the Heaven's Feel route, the third route that you accomplish in the game. After all, they already did the Unlimited Blade Works in a full series, and they decided to do this in a 3-trilogy movie, which I think is honestly for the best. One thing I've heard people mention before is you don't necessarily need to be a fan of Fate, or you don't need to watch Unlimited Blade Works in order to watch Heaven's Feel. In fact, people have sometimes recommended to watch Heaven's Feel first, and I honestly could not agree. I could not disagree more with that statement. Watching Heaven's Feel is like watching the third chapter in a series without watching the first two or without being shown the first two. The movie does a good job of recapping everything you really need to know by the end of it. However, that doesn't mean that everything is explained. It glosses over many important scenes that aren't established. For instance, when Shiro meets Saber, the confrontation that he has with Tosaka Rin, completely glossed over. Just scenes in general are missing within the story, and there's a reason for that. It's because it's not necessary to show them, because it's already been shown in Unlimited Blade Works. So I do recommend that if you are planning to watch this movie, you do need to watch Unlimited Blade Works before watching Heaven's Feel. So anyways, the summary of the story is essentially Shiro living alone after the death of his father, or adopted father, Kiritsugu, goes to school and winds up getting in a Holy Grail War. The Holy Grail War, where 7 mages summon 7 servants, and they have to fight in order to win the Holy Grail. However, in Heaven's Feel, this Grail War is different than the other ones. It's in some ways that I won't explain. And that's pretty much the best summary I could give of the entire movie without giving anything away. I don't really want to give too much away because I do want people to at least consider watching this movie. I went to the premiere of Heaven's Feel all the way back in November when it first came out, and I got to see the movie with a bunch of fans, and you would think it was an amazing experience. And while the theater was a beautiful theater, it was by far one of the worst theater going experiences of my life. And the reason why I'm going to mention this is because I do believe it is important to mention why I had such kind of negative feelings when it came to Heaven's Feel, because my theater going experience was just all the more awful. To give a few examples of the things that I experienced in the theater when I was watching this movie, at one point my brother, who was with me, wanted to go to the bathroom, and he goes up to this guy who's sitting right next to us and asks him, "Excuse me, can I go to the bathroom?" Now this guy just leans over and starts mumbling to himself. He's just going, "I can't believe this fucking shit. I came to get up," and all that. And my brother just looks at him and he's just like, "Excuse me, I just need to go to the bathroom." To which this guy just leaned over and yelled, "Let me get up." Yeah, this guy just yelled at us, and then he took off running away. We never saw him again. And now that's a little bit annoying, but it's not going to ruin the theater going experience. After all, the movie hadn't started yet. But that wasn't it. On top of that, there was a bunch of jerks behind me that kept talking about Overwatch, which wouldn't shut up. They even talked a little bit during the movie, commentating on a few things, like, "Oh, like, look at that, look at." Don't do that, please. That's really frustrating. But, of course, my movie-going experience wouldn't be ruined if it wasn't just for that. Of course, an asshole in front of me had to spill his drink getting on my shoes, which was great. And then he proceeded to get up, blocking an entire screen for me, so I couldn't read the subtitles, and I couldn't understand a word of Japanese. And I just couldn't see the animation to begin with. So it was a complete travesty that I missed, a minute of screen time. And then on top of that, we had a bunch of people in the theater yelling at everything. Now listen, I am a fan. Don't get me wrong. And I don't want to badmouth the Fate fandom. I don't want to say that the people in the Fate fandom are bad, because, hey, not everyone's bad. The majority of them are normal. But the big problem I had while watching this movie is just the amount of people yelling. and laughing at things, getting overly excited over honestly what I consider to be dumb things. Now listen, I'm a fan too, and I recognize that when I see maybe a fan favorite character, when I see a character on screen that I recognize, or I see a joke, I'll kind of get a smile on my face because I'm a fan. But for the love of God, I'm not going to stand up and yell every time I see a character like, oh my God, it's Shinji! Shinji's on screen! Or the worst one by far was just the part where Rin just kind of turns around. You see her for a minute and everyone's like, oh my God! Oh my God! It's like, what are you guys excited about? What are you yelling about? Nothing's happened. Everyone just keeps yelling and yelling over this. And I'm just there thinking to myself, like, yeah, they're there. Like, I'm not going to get excited. I mean, cool that they're there, but I just find it baffling that these people spend money, spend months to come to a theater and just yell, going, oh my God, Rin is in this movie? One of the main characters of the Fate series is in Heaven's Feel? How is that possible? How is that possible? How do we deal with this situation? Well, you shut up for once and watch the fucking movie so then you don't annoy other people around you. And I'm serious, my theater going experience for this film was really bad. It really deteriorated from my liking of it when I first saw it, unfortunately, to which I immediately went on board and got the collector's edition of Fate's Day Night, Heaven's Feel, Part 1, Presage Flower. I will even show it on screen. Yep, there you go. I immediately pre-ordered it, and since then I've watched it twice, and every time I rewatch this movie, I like it more and more. And this for many reasons. It's just a fantastic movie, and let me just go over a few of those things. But before I go over those things, I just want to mention, during the screening as well, at the end of the movie, the voice actress of Sakura, her name was Noriko Shitawa, sorry. She made a comment about the theater going experience. They asked her, what did you think? And she kind of just said like, oh, it's very different here in America. All the people are really loud during the movie. Now, she said it in a sweet way, bless her heart. She didn't mean it any disrespect to the fans, but I was kind of there thinking to myself like, yeah, it is very different, and it's very annoying that people are very loud during the movie. All right, so getting into the actual movie itself, the presentation of this movie, which I consider a presentation to be the biggest part of a movie, an animated movie that is the animation good? And that's what I'm going to talk about first. The animation in this movie is absolutely stunning, and I mean stunning. It is one of the most beautiful movies I have ever seen in anime. And I've seen a lot of great animated movies before, but this one really just took the cake as just like absolutely gorgeous. The animation in Unlimited Blade Works and Fate Zero, ever since Fate Zero, the animation has been getting progressively better. And watching Fate Zero, it's very clear that the animation was already great to begin with, and the fact that it keeps on getting better and better is just honestly a testament to how much hard work they're putting into this series. And Heaven's Feel is no exception. From the first frame of the movie, you see just how gorgeous the animation is. And the amount of detail in the backgrounds is just absolutely incredible. I was amazed at how much detail they put in the backgrounds. Like, every still image, every just kind of screenshot is like a new wallpaper, a work of art. And on top of that, you got the animation of the characters, the movements that they do. It's so fluid. It's so smooth. It's so great. The little details also make it work even more. And I really just loved and admired all the animation in this movie, especially during fight scenes. I really think they've done a great job perfecting the fight scenes. The fight scenes have been getting better and better and better. And I have to say, by far one of my favorite fight scenes in a movie ever has to be with, Lancer versus Assassin. Anybody who has seen the full fight scene in its entirety knows just how absolutely stunning that is, and how just amazing like the animation is, and how gorgeous it is. And one thing I really do appreciate is just the amount of detail in how they've really perfected the 3D mixed with the 2D animation mixed with 3D animation. Like before, it used to bug me, say like the dragon in the original Fate series, but forget that. However, now they've really gotten to the point where they've perfected it. Of course, it's a different studio, but they've really perfected the 3D animation now, and it looks amazing. And sometimes you can't even really tell. The only reason I could tell was because, well, I've watched the movie 3 times now, so I tend to pick things up. I tend to pick those things up. So that's the only reason I really notice it. But other than that, the animation is absolutely stunning and gorgeous to look at. Everything, every screen, every scene is just filled with beautiful, just like animation, beautiful movements, beautiful little details, like just works of art. It just, you have to look all over the screen to take in all of that art. And I genuinely don't think that the artwork would be enough to hold up this movie. If it wasn't for the absolutely stellar soundtrack. And I do mean stellar soundtrack. This is one of the best, or if not the best soundtrack I've seen in a movie to date, recently I should say. Every track is memorable to me, and every track fits perfectly. It's very emotional, the music. All the music is just so emotional, and it could be sad, it could be fun, it could be really just hyping you up with like a little bit of rock music in there at times, but the music just really adds to the presentation. So much so that I would even recommend getting the soundtrack if you can, for this movie. Just listening to it casually when I'm driving is just a joy to hear, to listen to, because it's just so good. So with the amazing animation and the excellent soundtrack, I have to say that the movie really, when it comes to the presentation, is solid. 100% solid, amazing, 100%. If I had to judge it based on that, fucking, 100 out of 10 right there. It's just absolutely stellar. And I can't wait to see how they improve upon that in the future. Unfortunately, I won't be able to show too much music, but if I do sneak in a few tracks in there, I will be able to show you what exactly some of the music is and how it works. I'm not going to show the scenes with it because, of course, copyright, but that doesn't matter. Now, this wouldn't be a full review if I didn't talk about a little bit of a controversy that happened between the fans. And it was with the differences between the theatrical cut of the movie and the Blu-ray cut. For the most part, everything's there. The whole story is there. They don't skip anything. They don't add anything to the scenes. It's more of what the animation. The animation has changed, and in the few shots that I'm going to show you right now, yeah, it is apparent that there is a very clear difference between the Blu-ray release and the theatrical version. At first, I didn't notice it. I don't know why I didn't notice it, but at first I didn't really notice it, but I did notice like a few scenes where it really does. You can definitely tell that there is something missing, and I know that is something that people wanted to talk about, and people are still talking about that. And in all honesty, I've watched the movie twice outside of the theater, and I still think it looks absolutely gorgeous. So I don't think this really affects the movie, but it is something that it is kind of questioning and just kind of leaves you going, why did they do that? And maybe it does need to be talked about, and maybe there is some more information out there. But in all honesty, I just wanted to bring this up because I know some people might say, hey, why didn't you bring this up? So that's why I'm bringing it up. But in all honesty, to me, it's not that big of a deal, but I do understand why people are upset about it, and I do understand why people do want to talk about it. Getting away from, I guess you could say, the worst part about the movie, let's go back into the story and the characters. The adaptation, mostly, how is it? Well, the adaptation, like I said before, there are a few things missing, and story-wise, for instance, introduction scenes are missing. Some scenes are cut short, and that is because it's a movie, and I do understand that. And plus, this is the kind of the third retelling of the same story. Like I said, certain story bits are exactly the same as it was in Unlimited Blade Works. For instance, the introduction to Saber has not changed. The way that Shido is saved by Rin is not changed. So really, you can leave that stuff out. And like I said, it doesn't really matter that there are certain scenes that are taken out or there are certain introductions that aren't there. Because at the end of the day, in order to get the full story of Fate Stay Night, you really do need to just know all three of the stories, considering they're all three of them are canon and all three of them have different unique stories that you need to follow. So in order to get the full story, you do need to follow all three of them. So that's why I do think that it doesn't matter that certain things are taken out of this movie, and it doesn't really fault it. What is in the movie is solid. On one half of the movie, you have the whole romance, the relationship between Shiro and Sakura, which is very well done from the beginning, from their introduction, from when they first meet, when she's a little girl, and
君はシンジの妹の。
はい。マトさくらです。
Of course, Shido's in a first year in high school. It's very well done. The animation's stellar. Of course, the music's great, but also the dialogue is really, really great. And as the story unfolds, you really do get to see their relationship grow. Very different from Unlimited Blade Works, where Sakura really didn't play a part in the story at all. Which, of course, that's fine. That doesn't matter. So the story between them, solid, great job. But, of course, this is the first chapter. We have to wait until there's more to come. As far as the characters go, all of them are great. I don't know what I could say about that. All the voice actors have returned. Voice actors and voice actresses have returned. It's the same people as been since the beginning, even in the horrible Fate series that I'm not going to mention. Everybody's here, and they're all terrific, and all the characters are great. However, like I said, certain characters in this movie will not get closure, in this trilogy, I should say. They don't get closure. They don't really get a backstory. They're just in the movie They don't really play a part necessarily. Well, they do, but it's not a huge role as maybe they did in Unlimited Blade Works or the Fate route, which doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. So as far as those characters go, the kind of to the side characters, we already know who they are, so it doesn't really matter. We don't need an introduction. And of course, this is a different story, and it's going to focus on completely different characters than the last few stories. So, like I said, it's okay. As far as the characters that we do focus on, all of them are great. Shido's back, Sakura's back, Rin's back, Archer's back, Saber's back. I can't even go into all of them. They're all back. Let's just say that, and they're all great. The voice acting's terrific. Everybody does a great job, and all the characters are likable. It's a real pleasure, in all honesty, that the series has been going on for so long, and the characters and the actors are still here, and they're still delivering such a solid job at working and really convincing you that characters are real, and they do a great job of showing the emotion through them. And of course, this story is all about Sakura, or she is one of the main parts of the story, so they do go about her very nicely. They do a great job with all the characters. They do a great job with the story. To sum up this review is literally impossible because it's long. Just to summarize it this way, Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel Part 1 Presage Flower is an excellent work of art. I love this movie. It's a terrific film. I love it more and more every time I watch it. I appreciate it more and more every time I watch it. As a fan, I am very thrilled to begin this journey with the Heaven's Feel movies, and I can't wait to see, honestly, I can't wait to see how they top this one, because this movie is so good in my opinion. It's kind of hard for me to see how it gets better, but I obviously know it's going to get better. It's going to get more intense, and I can't wait to see more. I can't wait to see my favorite characters come back and play a huge role in the next part. I can't wait for part 2 to come, and I can't wait to not watch the English dub, because I did catch a little whiff of the trailer when in the English dub by accident and realized, oh, how fucking terrible it really was.
It's been 10 years since that night I was saved from the fire by Kiritsugu. My days were ordinary and peaceful and were spent with people dear to me.
I'm just so baffled. Why did they get like such an American jock to play Shido? It just doesn't fit. But anyways, getting back to the movie. As far as it goes, the presentation of this film is terrific. The animation is amazing. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. What more can I say? The soundtrack is amazing. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. What more could I say? The story, the characters are all fantastic. Everything that this movie needed to do right, it does right. It's a great introduction. It's great as a movie itself. Not really good as a standalone movie, but it's a great introduction into the whole trilogy. And if I was to give this a final verdict, the final verdict for Fate Stay Night, Heaven's Feel Part 1 Presage Flower is a solid 10 out of 10. This movie is absolutely fantastic. I loved every minute of it. I love the movie. I think it's very much worth checking out. However, if you're not a fan and you have not watched Unlimited Blade Works, not watched Fate Zero, you don't need to watch the original Fate show at all. Skip it. Then I wouldn't recommend watching this movie. You would be doing yourself a disservice if this is the first Fate movie that you get introduced to. I really do think that that's just a complete disservice. Don't do that. I do recommend that you watch everything first and then come to Heaven's Feel, the trilogy. But, hopefully it doesn't come to that. Anyways, I really love this movie. It's 120 minutes long, a perfect length, 2 hours on the dot. That's solid to me. That's solid. I can't wait for more. I'm actively anticipating the Heaven's Feel movies, and I will be doing a review of the next 2 movies in the trilogy when they come out in 2019. Anyways, this was Grant for One Fair Review. Thank you for joining me on the I think it's episode 3 of review. God, we're really going up in the world. Thank you for joining me on this amazing journey. I do hope that you take something away from this review. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. Excuse me, I'm kind of taking pauses right now because I'm forgetting what I need to say. If you enjoyed the video, please send me information, send me some feedback. If you guys have any comments about the movie itself, write them down below. I do want to see what you guys have to say. If you want to talk shit on it, then go ahead and talk shit on it, and I will gladly criticize you for talking shit. I'll see you next time on One Fair Review. As always, have a nice day.